to Berghain, and we're live. Hello, guys. Just having a chinwag. Going to Berghain in Berlin, and a lot of it is actually it's just a club. You know, a lot of it is just people there dancing, having a good time, whatever. But the thing in Berghain you've got is by the sides of the main dance floor, there's these sort of like I don't know what you call it really, almost like these caverns by the side of the dance floor. And people go in there, and there's all sorts of stuff going on in the shadows there. So yeah, man. But a lot of Berghain is just a regular club. It's just people off their face dancing, basically.
Yeah, I mean, we're in fast here. We knew we were going to get some controversy posting this, but they do say any publicity is good publicity. We've got Bree coming in strong. You don't want anyone associating with you any references to homosexual activity. I can imagine him standing there, you know, Nazi saluting in front of the camera, EDL tattooing on his forehead.
Well, I was actually going to delete that because that was up before you.
That's all right. Who cares?
No, I was going to delete it, but then I thought I'd let's leave it just for the comedy of it, because I mean, like what is the mentality of somebody who posts that? You know, you don't want anyone associating with you with any references to homosexual activity. I mean, like, what is
it's probably Krauser, if we're being honest.
All right, very probably.
Drinky is Nuki Brown. We're going to get some flack for this live stream, but it just goes to show. And again, this isn't an personal attack on anyone, because I don't really give a monkeys and very much live and let live. But there seems to be this association with kind of the red pill manosphere and almost this Ku Klux Klan mentality, where it's almost like get rid of anyone else who isn't kind of a straight white man. And what I found, we'll discuss why we actually think this. Me and Troy, as much as you guys will probably click this information, bring it into some various videos, which is hilarious because we're actually the ones saying it. It's not like you sneakily like caught us on a candid camera.
Like, yeah.
Positioned by the fake shake. We're openly saying this stuff, but yeah, we're not coming out the closet or anything like that. It's more about just a variation of some of the experiences we've had over the past few years. If you are going to try something a bit different, going to gay clubs or going to kind of clubs where it's anything goes, it's some of the best. If you're into night game, if you're into craziness, and if you're into complete debauchery and hedonism like I am, like Troy is, it's some of the best places you can go to pick up women.
Yes.
So that's what we really want to talk about. And there is a bit of controversy associated with the title, because really we're both getting to the stage where we've done this for a while, and it's interesting for us to talk about things that are, stuff we are knowledgeable about with, and
yes.
Pissing people off. Well, fuck it. Choose. If you don't want to watch the stream, don't watch the fucking stream.
So yeah. I mean, the thing is, right? It's weird that this is a controversial subject, because it used to be basically like a no-brainer amongst guys in the know. That, yeah, man, you go to a gay club and the girls there's lots of girls there. I mean, we're not talking about, just to be completely clear here, we're not talking about going to a male-only gay club. That's not what we're on about here. We're talking about going to a gay club where you also have women, and there are many, many, many of them, probably the majority of gay clubs. It's completely, especially in this day and age, because discriminating against any gender is a no-no. So, go to a gay club where there's also women, and it was always a no-brainer. Back in the 90s, back in the naughty 90s, it was a no-brainer. Yeah, go to the gay club because, and we'll go into the reasons why, but there's a whole bunch of women there who obviously aren't getting serviced by the main clientele, because the main clientele are gay. Seems like a no-brainer. Seems like an open goal to me.
It does.
Every hole's a goal. Every hole's a goal.
This is actually, we'll go on a few side tangents. We've got about an hour to do
yeah,
this.
We don't have to just talk about this. But
no. We'll go into detail about why these places are good and my experience with them, and where we'd recommend to actually go if you want to check this sort of stuff out and the variations on this stuff. Maybe we'll do a follow-up of a fucking swingers party, sex party stuff. Which
mate, well, that's a whole.
You've got a lot of experience. We could actually do that as a follow-up stream. We'll focus this one more on the gay club scene, and then maybe the next one is the sex party, swinger scene, of which I've got some experience. You've got a lot of experience, and we can go into that maybe in the next stream. But yeah, this is a great side tangent question, which is something I've been struggling with for a few years. Which is, I'm not really out to bang every night anymore. I don't really feel I need to do that. I'm probably, I don't know whether I'm addicted to, I'm a substance addict, full stop. I'm addicted to various types of hedonism. So probably falls under this category. Terrera used to call it, didn't he? May he rest in peace if he's not in Medellin. the notch count hyena, which is that kind of desire to always think, where's the fresh hit, where's the fresh girl.
Yeah.
I was speaking to Les about this, spending time with him in Bogota the last few days, and it's one of the dangers of the pickup industry is you get into this and you almost get addicted to the thrill of sleeping with new women, but you start treating them really like, objectifying them, treating them like a piece of meat. There's no connection with them. It's just get them in, get them out.
Yeah.
And it's a great question, because this is kind of one of the problems you have getting into this kind of traveling player lifestyle. Everything you do is really hitting those dopamine sensors, boosting the serotonin, fresh place, new sights, new sounds, new smells, new food, new language, new smell in the air, new look of people, new dating opportunities, new type of extracurricular substances for me to put in various facial orifices. New types of beer new types of beer to drink. It's new clubs to go to, new places to day game. It's a question. It is a question, and there's no real answer to this, is there? It's that hedonistic treadmill of life, and on a micro level, I guess, dating. And where does it end?
Yeah, how do you get over the "it's never enough" syndrome? I don't think there's any easy answer. I don't think there's any easy answer, except, and this is in my very honest experience, and I've been talking about this on videos a bit recently. Getting a little bit older, it started naturally to kind of sort of reduce a little bit. That's all I can say. But that's only my experience, and that could be connected with anything else. That could be connected with mood or whatever. Because actually, I have to say, coming back from Colombia, the first in January or whenever it was, after what you were saying, and coming down off that sort of high of doing all that crazy stuff, dating those girls, going to all those places, coming back here, I had a pretty low period for a few weeks. I had a pretty low period. I mean, I was physically quite ill. I had some couple of like stomach flu and stuff like that, but pretty low, like to the point of really demotivated, quite a bad reaction. And I think it was in part just coming off the end of that jaunt, so it is something that we all have to face, isn't it?
Yeah, important to take time off. I used to do this a lot better before I started really smashing it the last few years. But having those periods of having fun, charging around a lot of new stuff, and then actually balancing that with getting your head down, doing some productive stuff, doing some stuff that's more delayed gratification rather than instant gratification. Having that yin and the yang and the balance is probably the best way to live life. I mean, on a nomadic traveling lifestyle basis, probably something like 3 weeks really getting your head down, and then 1 week going crazy. Maybe it doesn't work like that. Maybe on a more macro level, it's 5 days getting your head down, and then weekend of having a lot of fun, the traditional model. But it really is important to balance stuff. Because external kind of instant gratification, hedonism, pleasures, whilst they're amazingly addictive and fun, they don't actually boost your happiness long term. I think it's really about figuring out stuff that you need to work towards on a kind of on a self-actualization level as well as anything.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to have that other side, without a doubt. You've got to have, guys would always talk about a mission. You've got to have a mission. You've got to have things that you're passionate about that aren't just instant gratification things, without a doubt. So you need to look inside yourself and discover what those things are and sort of work towards them. But it is tricky. It is tricky because, we live in a world now where you do not have to, if you don't want to. I don't believe any guy now has to get married or has to go down the traditional route, because why would you bother? We could just go out and date and meet different girls and just carry on basically doing what we're doing now, pretty much certainly until we're 60 and probably even further. And then naturally it tails off anyway. And then you got your mates, etc., etc. Why do you need to settle down? Why not just skip the middle bit that guys classically do, which is get married for 10 years, have a couple of kids, get a massive mortgage, then divorce, and have half your money taken away? Why not just skip that bit and just carry on with the dating all the way through? So, it's perfectly possible in this day and age to do that. But the problem with that is it's always on to the next one, isn't it? It's like, she was cute, but what about this one? But what about this one? And that's how it's hard to, that's what's hard to deal with, I think.
Yeah. I'm not convinced that you need a woman there in your life to be not lonely. I actually know so many guys, and you've met so many as well. They've come out of with a kind of pretty bad divorce, and talking to them, they were like, no, for years I was unhappy. I wasn't close to this person at all, but it was the traditional model. I guess the complicating factor for me on a personal level is thinking about kids, because although I don't want kids now,
you do.
When I'm 65, 70, if I haven't had kids, will I be lonely? Because you have that kind of realization that the whole point you were kind of born on a evolutionary level was to produce offspring. So
Well,
that's the factor for me that isn't clear yet. And I think it's interesting because everyone I've spoken to that I know that's have kids have all said the same thing, which is I wasn't ready for kids at all. I really didn't want them. But when you have them, this almost switch flicks in your brain, and you're like, okay, it's almost like a kind of a subconscious biological level. You just switch your focus, which whilst I can't really understand how that feels, I can understand that kind of why that would happen.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I think kids deciding to have children is the key decision in anyone's life, really. And that's why that is the key decision determining a lot of relationships. Is this relationship going to go forward, or are we going to split up? That's kind of what it comes down to, really, I think, in a lot of the case. For me, as we talked about this, I've always been ambivalent about it. There is a big part of me that would like it, of course, because wouldn't anybody? That's, like you say, it's a natural human drive. But I am somewhat ambivalent about it. And as I get older, I kind of think, well, is that really something that I want in my life? Or maybe actually, I don't want that. But it's still a decision that's pending for me, really. It's not a thing that I've come down 100% on one side or the other. But I'm probably leaning more towards, I don't know if it's something I want to do.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
It's not clear, is it?
No. I think you're right. I think there's this idea. We're getting very deep now, aren't we? We're supposed to be talking about gay club nonsense, but I think you're right. There is that sense of like, well, I'm 70, I'm going to be sitting there on the porch on my own and thinking, oh, I wish I was surrounded by my family and stuff like that. But there, on the other hand, there's a part of me that thinks, well, no, just stare into the abyss. Just whatever. I mean, if you're in that position, okay, fine. This is the choice I've made. I'm gonna go into that night, just stare into that abyss, and and I know dudes who are who are getting on a bit, and they didn't have kids, and they're perfectly happy. They're doing their thing. So I think. Did you ever read that Rollo Tomassi article, the myth of the old man?
Yeah, the myth of the lonely old man. But
yeah,
like more focus on being married rather than have kids.
It is. Yeah. Sorry, right. No, you're right. It is. But I think it still applies, though. I think that we fantasize in our head this idea of like, oh, I'm going to be 75. I'm going to be that little old guy in the cafe. I'm going to be, crying my eyes out over my Marlboro Red or whatever. Not necessarily like that, in reality.
Yeah, it's really, could you argue, it's a fear of it's another way to avoid really staring into the abyss of the fact we are mortal and we're all.
Well, look, I mean, whenever the kids thing comes up, because people will say, yeah, we'll pass on your genes and all that kind of stuff. But the reality is, even if you have kids, your genetic legacy, I think it lasts for something like 3 or 4 generations, and then it just peters out anyway. So it's all kind of meaningless in the end anyway, because you have kids, you pass something on, but then they die, then their kids die, then their kids die, and then a few generations down the line, nobody remembers who the hell you were. So it's sort of what does it really mean in the big scheme of things? Do you know what I mean?
Unless you Genghis Khan it.
That's true.
And he's got, what was it? Something like 8% of the total global population has.
Yeah, he could certainly, he left his mark. He certainly left his mark, didn't he?
Yeah, he did it right. I mean, if I'm not saying rampage and pillage, we could even get away with that. I think I was born in the wrong century, really. The wrong millennium, probably. Mr. Gupta, how do you deal with persona fatigue? Well, if it's to do with myself and Mr. Francis, you turn off this live stream, because unfortunately you've got our boat races staring straight at you. Let's go back to the idea of gay clubs and why they're good, because this is actually a point that needs to be made. So, I mean, there's a place in South America we went to recently in Colombia, the biggest anything goes club. You got gay people there, straight people, whatever you want to call people, Z's, whatever. We won't name the place in case we go back to Bogota and you guys want to join us, because it is a fucking sight for sore eyes a night out there.
Yeah.
But it's huge. I think it's the biggest club in South America of that sort. And it's just carnage. And look, we've said it before, but the reason I believe that it's such a good place to pick up women is loads of gay guys go there. They'll take gay, not all, but a lot of gay, flamboyant gay guys that I've met. They've got pretty hot girl mates.
Yeah.
They'll take them along. They'll be having a blast with them. The girls have gone on a girls' night because they want to avoid getting hit on by guys, or that's the logic they use. And they go in there. The gay guys typically always have the most quantity and best types of drugs. So it's a massively like kind of energized atmosphere. Everyone's going wild, drinking, doing drugs, blah blah blah. The clock strikes 12, and the girls are in this kind of whipped up, elated, energetic vibe,
Yeah.
and suddenly they're like, "I want a man." Right?
Yeah.
Where is give me a man after midnight vibe?
Yes.
And we're kind of charging around there. We're like, ching, right? And it's a combination of lack of straight guys, but also this whipped up energy that they've, very sexually heavy energy that's going on. And it's been, whenever we've gone there to Teatro, it's been fucking brilliant. It's been absolutely brilliant.
Well, that was the main reason I wanted to do this show, really, because that was such a great night when we were there in January or whenever it was, and you've probably been back since. But that was such a great night. It was one of the best nights that I've had in the last few years, and probably ever, really, because we talked before about Berlin and the great clubs there, and obviously, I've done things in London like Torture Garden and stuff in London. I've been to some fucking great club nights in my time, but I have to say, Teatron was really up there. It really up there. Just in terms of, and it's interesting because people always talk about like the South America and sensuality and all of that kind of stuff. And that night, I just saw it 100% in there. It was just crazy. It was like everyone was almost having sex already, just with their clothes on. There was a point when we were dancing on that raised bit, and there were all the girls there and these guys and whatever, and everyone was just like, it was just this incredibly intense, like sexualized energy in there.
Yeah, and Ege, who we both know, it's actually his birthday, the end of May. So my plan is to obviously go from the secret kind of monk mode place in Colombia that we may be at to Bogota for that last weekend and go absolutely wild. Go to that first one we went to again, which is a safe pair of hands, Federal, and maybe go to some kind of high-end hotel bars, and then hit the big one, Teatron, on the Saturday, and go absolutely wild, and obviously bring out the DJIs and get loads of footage.
So we got a bit of footage last time, didn't we? But I don't think we got as much as we should to show.
No, if we actually just went with the DJIs and actually made a point of, okay, we can have a lot of fun, but that's really film stuff, then we could get some fabulous footage. And it's a good question here. Do you ever pretend to be bi at these places? I don't, but what I'm not homophobic. I'm a very accepting guy. So if a guy is gay, I've got zero issue with that. I really don't care what people get up to in their spare time.
Yes. And there's no need to pretend to be bi at these places at all, because actually, generally speaking, the guys there are very accepting as well. They're not. It's not like you have to sort of, I'm going to pretend to kind of fit in or anything like that. It's just like you are what you are, and people tend to be very accepting, I found.
No, absolutely. And why would you go in there? Well, first of all, if you really were homophobic, you wouldn't go to these places, so you'd be ignoring what we're saying anyway. But if you do go there, there's no point getting rolled up by the fact people are gay or whatever, because so many gay dudes there, you get chatting to them and you're just be friendly, maybe I'm pouring some aguardiente onto them and they're like, hey, meet my friends. And there's a fucking smoking group of women that they're just mates with. And it's like, fucking, it's a no-brainer. The gay guy's got you in, he's giving you the acceptance. And so the girls, basically like another girl, kind of trust you because of him. And you're in. And it's just like, fuck, this is brilliant.
On the point of homophobia, I've always been very accepting of anybody, really, in terms of their sexuality, what they want to do. I'm very sort of libertarian, really, is what it comes down to. I just don't really give a monkeys. I don't care what people want to do. If you want to be gay, if you want to be trans, if you whatever. I just don't care. Unless it's directly affecting me, I'm not bothered. But more than that, there's a few key sort of secrets about the gay scene that not really secrets, but key fundamental drivers of why it's good in terms of dating women. And we've covered them really already, but it's basically, you've got gay guys generally have really hot female friends, or a lot of the time. And it's a cliche, isn't it? It's a cliche in the culture, the gay best friend. Hot girls often, many girls that I've dated, including my most recent exes, have had gay friends. It's just I've got my gay friends, and those girls will then go out on nights out with the gay friends, because, like you said, the atmosphere is fun, it's pumped up, it's sexualized. They've probably got some cool drugs and things like this. So a lot of gay guys have really hot female friends. You're also going into an environment where there is a lot less competition. if we're being crude about it, sexual market dynamics. There's a lot less competition because a majority of the other men there are gay. So you've got that. You've also got this, like you said, this very sexualized atmosphere, particularly somewhere like the club in Bogota, where the girls are just getting riled up, they're getting horny, basically. And guess what? There's fewer straight guys there to satisfy that demand. And it's a lot of fun. So really, all of this should be a no-brainer. And the only reason it's not a no-brainer is maybe some guys don't know this or they haven't thought about it. And also, you do have, for some reason, you've got a load of people who are homophobic in the space or who pretend to be homophobic as a way to sort of slur other people. But they're just, in my view, they're just thinking about it wrong. Because why would you not go to a place where... And so actually, if you think about the club in Bogota, we had a double advantage in there because A, we were straight. So, you know, we had that, obviously that going for us because the other guys around us weren't interested in the women. And secondly, we were also gringos. So we had so why would you not go to a place where you've got double the brownie points, if you like, than somewhere else?
Well, and third, we were going in with the mentality, which I really recommend guys use, which is going there not to necessarily try and pull and put pressure on yourself. Going there to really just enjoy the night and think about having as much fun as you can and everyone around you, providing them with as much fun as you can, because that really does. If you people are drawn to that like a moth to the flame, like a moth to the flame. You have a blast, and then it's not about, you don't judge your night on did I go home and sleep with someone at the end. Which by that basis, if you don't, you're going to be like, oh, that was a shit night, and your whole focus is on that. Whereas if you're going out just to enjoy the night, you may well get a result at the end of the night. But even if you didn't, you've had a fucking blast. So that is my mentality for night game moving forward. Anyway, I don't really give a fuck if I get laid at the end. I'm more than happy to charge around, have a blast, get some phone numbers, set up some dates. But because I'm flipping that mentality away from this kind of like, I've got to get laid. Ironically, the chances are far more opportune anyway, and you have a fucking great time, and everyone around you has a great time. So I think that's the ultimate mindset switch guys can use moving forward.
Yeah, definitely. He's clarified his point. He says, I meant in terms of putting the girls pretending you're bi. I find nowadays girls thinking straight people are boring. I think you get round that. I'm not convinced that they do generally think straight people are boring because I think they want to get laid, but even if there is an element of that, I think you get round that by the very fact that you're in the club and you're just very accepting, right? Because when we were in the club in Bogota, you know, they could already tell that we're very open-minded, that we're very accepting of people, that we're probably quite comfortable in our own sexuality, right? Because we're there. That already gives us an extra edge. Because what we're not is the bloke outside going, hey, bloody hell, I wouldn't go to one of these gay clubs. What are these dating coaches trying to pretend to be heterosexual? They go into gay clubs. You know, we're not one of those people. Those people are the kind of the boring, fucking, you know, square kind of guys that they think are boring. They're not attracted to. We've already proved ourselves because we've walked through the door.
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, there's no. I don't think there's any bonus to pretending to be bi as a guy.
No,
it doesn't add to your value with women. But
well, she's still attracted to the same stuff. Just because she's in a gay club, it doesn't. She's still attracted to the same stuff that women are always attracted to, which is she wants a masculine guy who's going to be dominant, who's going to take control, all of that kind of stuff. She still wants the same things. It's just that when you're in that location, she's getting horny because she's surrounded by, and let's remember as well, you know, a lot of these guys are good looking. So she's surrounded by good looking guys. I've had girls say to me, oh, it's so frustrating because you go to the gay club and the guys are also good looking there.
And they're all ripped. They're
all fucking ripped. They're all in awesome shape. I mean, again, you know, you go to your average straight club in Wigan. It's like, hey, bloody hell, all right, love, fancy a pint. Hey, never mind me dad bod. You could, you know, and all of that. Check out me. Want to come and check out me moobs? You know, none of that in the gay club. They're fucking ripped. So the women are getting horny, but they don't have an outlet for that horniness because the guys are gay.
Yeah, and the other point of note I've noticed from going to non-Anglosphere gay clubs, so not in the UK, not in America, not in Australia, not in Canada, is obviously women are more feminine. So what that means is they all seem to be up for getting with women, even if they're straight. They're so feminine in the moment. They're like, oh, let's just do this. Who cares? And they're all making out with each other, and they're not even gay, right? So that's an added benefit of, again, going somewhere like Colombia and hitting a couple of gay clubs. Now, I'm not saying, what we're not saying is you should start changing it, forgetting all the stuff we've talked about, which is cold approach, going to normal bars and stuff. But just remember, I think when you find a really good anything goes club, a bit like this place in Bogota, that has this reputation of just craziness, and there's a load of people there, and you get girls and guys going, just be open-minded to the situation. Just be alive to the opportunity that something like that presents, rather than just immediately being like, oh, there's no way I'd go near that.
Yeah, just don't be a homophobic wanker, basically, because actually, by being a homophobic wanker, because most women aren't homophobic. Most women and most women are also very sexual. Most women are quite curious about different sorts of sexualities and stuff, and most women are quite. I mean, we've talked before about what's it called, My Secret Garden. Women's sexual fantasies and stuff like that. Women are much more sexual than men are, and they're more curious about different sexualities and stuff like that. So actually, if you present yourself as a guy who's like, I'm comfortable with my sexuality, and actually, I don't mind going to some like kind of crazy places and stuff like that, you come across as being less uptight. You come across as actually being more desirable, I would say, than the guy who's trying to be the 2D alpha on the internet. It's like, fucking hell, I wouldn't go near one of them gay clubs. You don't want to be that guy.
It would be quite funny to take some of these hyper masculine, almost 2D alphas into theatre and just see what they do. Like shoot some tranquilizer darts into Jocko Willink when he's firing with some guns, put him in a cage, drag the cage in, he comes to it in the middle of a fucking Saturday night in theatre, and you kind of release him. What would he be doing?
Well, no, he'd be like, I'm in a gay club. Good.
Yeah. Or he'd just kind of charge around and start smashing shit up, and then just be like, by the end of the night, it'd be with tinsel all over him.
It's all nonsense, because the guys who are accepting of this stuff, it's not. There's this idea that if for a guy to be accepting of a gay club or gay culture, he's got to be some kind of limp-wristed kind of effect kind of person. It's not the case at all. I've known many guys who are just who completely get this, that what we're talking about now, this concept of like this no-brainer concept of like, why didn't you go to a club where the girls are hyped up on sexuality and you have less competition? I know some super like masculine dudes who are straight who completely get that, and really you should completely get that. And if you don't, you probably need to take a look at yourself a bit more, really, I would say.
Yeah, being more
and your own prejudices.
If you think about, and we're not saying we fill into this category, but if you think about guys that get laid a lot, these kind of almost, so like they've got this feminine energy as well as the masculine, your Russell Brands, your Oscar Wildes. I mean, they understood that, right? They understand that there's a balance of energy. You don't always have to be this hyper masculine dude. But equally, we're not going in there and prancing around with tutus on. We're just going in and accepting the situation, also playing the percentages to our advantage. It's a no-brainer. If you read, I'm currently reading Dan Bilzerian's book. It's very interesting because he said, look, I was never the extroverted guy. I'm not a party guy. I don't really like crowds. I'm not really good at being around people. But what I am good at doing is setting things up in my favor. So throwing house parties where the ratios are in my favor, going to a club where I know the promoters and it's only a few guys on the table. It's similar to this in a lot of ways. This place we went to in Colombia, it's a low ratio of straight dudes. It's lots of hot girls, whipped up energy, anything goes atmosphere.
Yeah, completely. Well, and so back in the day, when I lived in Manchester in the UK for a while, and there was a big sort of it was quite famous. There was quite a big sort of gay scene up there and everything, and it became very fashionable for a while. The whole scene became very fashionable for one thing, because there was good music, there was good clubs, there was good drugs, whatever. But it also became very fashionable for girls to go to these parties, and it was for the reasons that we're talking about. Girls would go, and generally pretty cute girls who are quite sexually kind of liberated, let's say, would go to these parties, very sexily dressed birds, and it was a no-brainer. It was always a no-brainer amongst the straight guys in the city. It was like, well, why don't we go to Paradise Factory? Because there's going to be loads of girls there. There's just less competition. It's like, and it was always a really good time. And even on a lesser level, I mean, even Soho in London, if you think about Soho, I was in Soho last night for a bit, and there were so many attractive girls wandering around. But even on where Old Compton Street is sort of known to be kind of a gay street, but there were so many hot girls walking around and so many opportunities for approach. It was just through the roof.
Yeah, I think if I move back to London for any period of time, I'm going to look to rent a place in Soho because I just think I personally love it. I love the vibe of it. I love the atmosphere. I love the kind of anything goes nature. It's just a cool atmosphere. Again, it plays into what we like, which is kind of that grimy, drug-addled red light district kind of, anything goes vibe, which is just fucking fun to be around.
And of course, unfortunately, it's been cleaned up a lot, and it's not really as sleazy as it used to be. But I mean, that street, Old Compton Street, is sort of, there's a number of like gay pubs and bars and stuff on that street, but there's also straight bars as well. You've got Bar Soho, which is not, it's certainly not a gay. It's certainly not a gay pub. I mean, but then there's this amazing mixture of people, and like during the summer, and actually even during lockdown and stuff before, when they were allowing stuff out in the street, you get this huge mixture of people. You get all of these really cute girls, but you get all the gay guys, and you've got the music, and everyone's just having a blast. Amazing, amazing sort of atmosphere to go and approach and to meet girls.
Yeah. And actually, before I understood the dynamics of why gay clubs work, I remember going with a gay friend to Freedom, which is one of the gay clubs in Soho, years back. And I was like, I had no understanding what was happening. I didn't even know we were going there. He was like, right, let's go to this place. I was like, okay. And then we walked in. I was like, hold on a second, you've pulled a fast one here. He's like, no, trust me, you'll have fun regardless.
Yeah.
And it was a fucking amazing night. Like, good mix of people, loads of hot girls. Well, I was like, fuck, hold on a second. Basically, everyone else here is gay. I'm the only straight dude. If I talk to girls, what's going to happen? So I started talking to girls, and they're uber receptive because there's no other fucking straight dudes there. So it's again playing that ratio. And that was before I understood the dynamics of why it's good to try stuff like that.
Well, I've got a story about that actually, because Torero, R.I.P., often talked about Freedom, the bar, and he would often take girls on dates there. So this is maybe he met her through cold approach or whatever, but he would often take girls on dates in Soho and then into Freedom. And the reason he did it, he said to me, was precisely because of this atmosphere. Because you take the girl into Soho, she's like, oh, this is a bit naughty, this is a bit, and then you take her into this sort of gay kind of, and I think they've got like performances and acts and stuff going on downstairs. Take her in there, and she's like, oh, this is a bit sexy, this is a bit weird, and it would actually help him on the date in terms of her getting kind of turned on, and then him, closing the deal later. So, and I've even been told that even Mr. Krauser himself has been on dates down there. Although I can't confirm that, Krauser, if you're watching, I can't confirm or deny. But I think it's pretty well known, this stuff, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean that's something that I wouldn't have had in mind as it's a great idea, but I wouldn't have kind of sprung to that as an idea without hearing it. But it's a great idea. I mean, again, it's whipping up the energy, isn't it? The atmosphere. I think it is worth looking when guys travel. Look if you want to try something a bit different, look to stay in kind of the red light district or anything goes of various cities, even if it's for a few days, just to see what the atmosphere is like, because it's going to be a lot more hyped up and interesting. It's all about diverse experience in life. We went obviously, which is like that.
Yeah, well, obviously we went down to that red light district in Bogota a couple of times, the old Santa Fe, and that was a lot of fun. Although predominantly, I would say, well, I mean, that's less of a gay thing, isn't it? Really, because obviously, predominantly, you've got a lot of.
That's like a Soho, really.
You've got a lot of female prostitution there and stuff, and it was a very interesting area to sort of walk around and have a look at. Although, of course, there was a lot of trans. There's a lot of trans prostitutes down there as well. But that's a slightly different thing in a way, because with those kind of areas, I'm feeling the reason I'm interested in that is because just that sort of seediness and that slight sense of danger and stuff like that you get in those places.
Yeah, it's a very interesting spot that I think definitely will have.
Yeah, but then somewhere like Soho, and again, it's been massively toned down over the years. But Soho in London, you've sort of got a mixture of the two, because you've got the seediness, you've got the hookers and things, but you've also got the sort of the gay bars and things as well. So in that location, it's all sort of mixed together a little bit.
Yeah, I think I'm excited to go to Berlin, and again, it's not really the same. It's more kind of just anything goes clubs rather than gay areas, but. There's something about that kind of seediness and griminess that's just fun to be around, isn't it?
Yeah, so talking about Berlin, I mean, so Berghain, which is the famous club that everyone knows about and tries to get into when they go to Berlin, it's not a gay club, but it's certainly owned by some gay guys, and it was originally a gay club, and it's still got a very. The reason they're so strict on the door is because they want to keep the ratios really right. So they'll let in a certain number of gay guys, gay people. Then they'll let in like straight girls, straight guys, whatever. But they're quite careful. They're really, really picky, really careful with the ratios to get the atmosphere right. And when you go in there, again, it's one of those things where you've got a ton of just really, really hot straight girls who are all off their faces because everyone's off their face in Berghain.
I remember seeing. I couldn't believe it when I was queuing up in deep midwinter one time. I've been rejected a number of times and got in once or twice, but it was deep snow. We're queuing for about 50 minutes. Absolutely stunning group of presumably straight women in front of me.
Yeah,
wearing very little, and I couldn't believe it. The bouncer on the door, the guy with the half his face tattooed, who just nods or shakes his head to say if you're getting in or not, just said absolutely not. Just bin them off. I couldn't believe my eyes, and nor could they. And then there's something quite funny about that, just to see. Like, now honours are even. It's quite.
Well, that's gonna go against us in the argument now because guys will be, oh wait a minute, so the hot girls got turned away. So you went to a club and it was just guys. So you
but then we saw Woodsy and Krauser dancing around in pink tutus. So it made it all worth it.
No,
it was worth it at the end.
No, I mean loads of people. It's notorious. Possibly what it might have been is maybe they were a bit too like hen nighty. Maybe they're a bit too chavvy because they're quite. It's quite a sort of pretentious place in some ways. They don't want people who look too like just all right, the girls' night. They're going for more of a hipster kind of vibe. But I mean, when you go in there, there's absolutely stunning girls in there for sure, and like South Americans in there. There's like Israeli. There's like I don't know, whatever. But you've also got these gay guys, and it's a darker energy than South America, but it's the same kind of thing, which is it's very pumped up, very hypersexualized, and you've got all the those cavern bits by the main dance floor, and people are like doing all kinds of stuff in there. But you can take girls. There's gay guys doing stuff in there, but you can take girls into there and have a good time, and it works really well. It works really well because again, the girls like, oh, this is really naughty. This feels a bit edgy, and they get turned on by it.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great point. I'm looking forward to doing a dirty weekend in Berlin. I mean, it would kind of we mentioned this before, but the offer is there if guys want to join for a couple of nights. It's very much off-label this weekend. It's not going to be formalized day game and night game approaching. But if you want to come and join me and join some seedy fucking venues and just have a fucking blast, then we'll probably look to do that in Poland. So it's probably worth mentioning what the kind of itineraries are for the next couple of months. But my plan is to go. I've got to be here for some stuff to deal with in London. Then I plan to go back the whole of May to Colombia. And the last weekend, if guys want to join, we'll be charging around doing some night game in Bogota. So last weekend of May. And then the whole of June, my plan is to be in Poland. So we're taking guys with us. We're trying a new format, which is quite cool, which is you kind of jump into our almost, it's not so much of a formal boot camp. So it's cheaper. It's around £750 a day. And what you get with that is you jump into our life basically as an acquaintance or friend, and you get to see how we actually live. So you'd be coming to the gym with us in the morning. You'd be, eating lunch with us. You'd be doing some situational approaches, lifestyle day game that we really promote now, building it into a healthy lifestyle, being as sociable as possible, have dinner with us and pick our brains the whole day and just hang out with us. And then you pick either a day game, a formal day game session of a few hours, or you come out and do some night game stuff if it's on a Friday or Saturday. So I've kind of put that out there just to kind of, just an experiment really. And it's been super popular with guys signing up to Poland. We plan to hit Lublin, Krakow, Lodz, Luge, as you pronounce it, and Warsaw. So get in touch, send either Troy an email, troy@realtroyfrancis.com or info@jamestuss.com if you want to discuss that. We have got a couple of spaces left for that. It's going to be me, Troy and Ege, the coach, just taking guys out. So it's a new format, but super excited for that. That'll be the whole of June. And then maybe the end weekend, so the first weekend in July will be this kind of debauched weekend in Berlin. So lots of exciting stuff coming up.
Definitely. Well, Poland, very safe pair of hands. As we know,
I can see it. There was a guy that you follow on Twitter that you end up, being like, there's a hotel we particularly like, Again, we won't say what it is because we'll get overrun. It's fucking brilliant. But again, get in touch if you want to discuss it. But yeah, such one of the best hotels. I mean, it's basically like an upgraded version of the hotel that we both like in Bogota. It's just so easy to you could just live there for honestly weeks, couldn't you, as a base?
Yes, yeah, definitely. And somebody did. That guy I was speaking to, he's a writer, and he spent like a month there or something, and he was writing a book. So yeah, it's a great place.
And Poland as a whole, just to be clear, is one of these countries that I just really resonate with. Guys always ask me, well, you've traveled a lot. Where do you really like to go? Brazil, Colombia, Serbia, Russia, and Poland are the kind of top places for me. And it's a combination of just kind of meeting a lot of girls who, for whatever reason, resonate with me on a kind of micro level, microbiological level, but also I just really like the place. I feel comfortable there. The atmosphere is friendly. Polish women are very hot, very feminine, beautiful, speak good English. And also just the vibe of the place is cool. It's very fun nightlife. It's kind of 24-hour city. Food's brilliant. Weather's pretty good. Pretty low cost of living.
It gets pretty hot in the summer, actually.
It does, but overall, everywhere I've ever been in Poland, I've not had a bad time. I've always had a good time. It's just a very cool place overall. I don't really see any downsides to it. So, yeah, come and jump in if you fancy it. It's going to be a fucking blast.
No, it's a great place. It really is, and the people are friendly, and the girls are beautiful. It's the whole package, really. It definitely is. By the way, guys, anyone got any questions? Whack them in the chat, because we haven't really had many questions this stream. People are just too blown away by the value that we're giving. They just can't think of anything to ask.
Or they're scared shitless. We realise actually, all of my audience, the Ku Klux Klan members, I'm going to get loads of unsubscribers. A bit like when a guy goes on Take Me Out. And they are such a fucking talk about an ego busting show.
It's a black pill show.
Yeah, but he gets sent down. They always put a couple of good ones at the beginning, don't they? And then kind of put a few middling guys in the middle, and then end it with usually a bit of I don't want to say it, but a bit of an alternative, quirky guy, which is fine if you're famous. But if you're not, you come down with a hat with a feather in it and a medallion, it can all go wrong. And it's a bit like that. You see the heartbreaking thing of he comes down, he takes his position. And then all of the things just go, and they go from white to red. So it's going to be like that. You're just going to see a massive drop in subscriber count. But
subscriber count, hey, I'm not in good conscience. I can't follow those clowns anymore. They're recommending, they're grooming, they're grooming their audience. They're grooming their audience. They're recommending guys go to gay clubs. The reason being because they're gay and they want to get off with you. That's all it is.
If they want if there are any skeptics out there that want to be proven wrong, because I'm sure there'll be a lot of guys going, "Oh, who are these fucking clowns?" Come out and join us. Come out to Colombia. Final weekend of May. We'll be there. I mean, I'm willing. I want to go back to this place. It's fucking amazing. So come and join us for a night out if you really want to.
So we have the guy 778 has a question. How much women go to gay clubs? I mean, it depends, doesn't it? I mean, it's not a...
We're not talking about... So I've stumbled into a couple of gay clubs, which are majority, mainly actually men, and then they're not good to fucking go out in as a straight guy. But what we're talking about really is kind of these anything go clubs. It's kind of a category of its own. So somewhere like where we go in Bogota, the massive place, I'd say it was probably 60% women, 40% guys.
60% women, 40% guys. It probably is. Which again... It's very specific to that place, though, isn't it? And you get places like this in different cities. I mean, another one will be Berghain. Actually, and this goes into the next topic a little bit, but Kit Kat Club in Berlin as well, one of my favorite spots in the world. Kit Kat Club, absolutely brilliant. It's kind of a fetish party, so we're moving into a slightly different territory there. But, it's got a big gay audience. But again, I would say the ratio is probably similar. I'd say it's probably 60% straight, 40% gay. But it's still got that anything goes atmosphere. So you're looking for places like that. I don't know really in London if there's anywhere particularly great. I mean, Heaven might be. I've not been to Heaven for many years. Heaven might be good. So I've got a story about that once because I've told this many times, but years ago I was walking down Villiers Street. I've been doing a Berghain session. I'd been on an instant date with one Swedish girl that hadn't gone anywhere, whatever, done loads of approaches, nothing really stuck. And I was kind of walking home. I was walking down Villiers Street, which is this was late. This was like 10 p.m. or something. That's the street next to where the gay nightclub Heaven is. And I see this girl walking along in front of me, and she's got like mini skirt, high heels on, really, really cute. So of course, I think, oh fuck it, I'm just going to go talk to her. So I start talking to her, and it's a ridiculous story where she ended up coming back to mine in about 10 minutes. She said she wanted to get something to eat, so I was like, okay, well, cool, let's go grab something to eat, and we're going to walk across the bridge because I used to live in South London. So we started walking across the bridge. Anyway, we're on the bridge, and I'm like, yeah, we'll find somewhere to eat. I'm thinking, shit, where's open, whatever. We start making out on the bridge. Obviously, that fantastic view of London. Start kissing on the bridge and everything, and we finish kissing, and I say, so you want to get something? Do you want to grab some food then? And she goes, she literally said, let's fuck first and eat afterwards. And I was like, okay, all right. We can do that. So I took her over the bridge, got a taxi, went back to mine, did the deed, whatever. Anyway, what had happened was she'd been at Heaven, the gay club, with two of her gay friends. The gay friends had got and pulled. There was no one for her. So she's frustrated. She was obviously feeling pretty horny. She was looking for, some fun. I was sort of right place, right time. But it's another illustration of this whole dynamic. Straight girl out with her gay mates, cute straight girl out with her gay mates. If you'd have been in the club, that would have been a real opportunity there for somebody if they'd have been in Heaven that night.
Yeah, it's a great story. But again, it's an illustration of kind of the atmosphere, the energy that it's whipped up, isn't it?
Yes.
I really do recommend, if guys, obviously, if you've got an issue with any of this stuff, don't listen to what we're saying. But if you are a bit more open-minded and you do want to try something a bit different, we're not suggesting you go and get sausaged by a load of men. But try and think about, these kind of places as an opportunity to really do some damage. I mean, on a personal level, I've been saying this for a while, but whilst I still teach day game and I love day game, I'm very much more involved in enjoying the teaching process of doing more night game stuff at the moment. So if you ever come out to me somewhere like Bogota or Cali or something like that, I probably will take you to a more of an anything goes club if you just want to smash the approach and have an absolute blast.
Well, there's no doubt that club in Bogota, you could go I'm sure people do. You could go every week and you could just, your sex life, I could just imagine the person's sex life would just be through the roof with different girls from that club. I mean, it's that good.
The other thing to bear in mind is, so the mutual guy that we know who looks kind of like a skinny T-Rex, who's a former client of mine, Richard, who lives in
whose girl, or not girlfriend, but whatever that girl is he's with, is very, very attractive.
Yeah. So, but the thing is, right? He was hooking up with this girl on Tinder, and she took him to like a gay, fucking,
Did you meet her on Tinder?
No. So he met another girl on Tinder, and he was like, do you want to go for a drink? She was like, do you want to come to this party? He was like, okay. She didn't say anything other than turn up in black leather at this time. And it was they'd hard out. I think the story was they'd hard out like a really cool kind of almost a mansion space. And it was supposed to be kind of a bit like a theatre and kind of a bit gay, but an anything goes party. And he walked in, had a load of MD with him, had a blast of a night. And he was just saying it was just turned into a fucking orgy, but it was all these women just wearing nothing, getting absolutely just having the time of their fucking lives. And through that party, he actually met the girl, the really hot black hair girl that you met at Theatron.
Yes.
And again, like she introduced him because it's an anything goes club. She then introduced him to loads of her mates. They're all like webcam models. And he just spent, I met him the other day when I was back in Bogota, and he looked like he'd seen a ghost when I turned up to see him. It was 2 p.m. on a Saturday. 4 p.m. on a Saturday. I met him, and he'd only finished the night at 2 p.m. He'd gone out on the Friday, and he'd basically just gone out with this girl who's bisexual. Went to somewhere like Theatre, and then just him, her, and one of her good mates, two really hot girls, who just went back to a hotel, and just that was it for the whole night, just having an absolute blast. And that sort of stuff wouldn't be possible, or it might be possible, but you know what? It's so much easier when you're in that kind of
environment
to make stuff like that happen.
Because that's a really important point, because think of the kind of women who go to these kind of environments as well. It's going to self-select slightly, this is not an absolute, but it's going to slightly self-select for more sexual women who are more interested, a little bit more experimentation, or a little bit more curious, which is all great stuff for you as the straight guy. His girlfriend that girl is really, really attractive, and like, I'm sure there's a sort of sensuality about her, isn't there, when you meet her and you're like, oh, well, but really, really cute, really hot. And yeah, I mean, he told me he'd met her, obviously what you're talking about, the party you're talking about. He said it was kind of a sex party, fetish party type thing. That's exactly the kind of girl you want to meet, because for a start, she's hot, but second, she's sexually liberated.
100%. And if you want to try and do crazy shit like pull threesomes, set up OnlyFans content where you're just doing all crazy stuff on camera, if you want to go and try and recruit people, your best bet is go somewhere like Teatron, charge around, get loads of phone numbers of girls. And I guarantee you a lot of them are going to be very open-minded to stuff like threesomes, foursomes with other women. So if you're looking at it from this, like, let's go crazy, let's tick off some stuff on the sexual bucket list, that is definitely a way to go about it. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
Sure
definitely. And this is a point that some of these homophobes on the internet miss, is that actually, like, forget trying to be a 2D alpha, forget trying to impress, like your subscribers on YouTube or whatever. Like, none of that shit. Who cares about that shit? What we care about is meeting attractive, sexually liberated women who are potentially up for threesomes and whatever else, right? Well, where are you going to most likely to meet those women? It's not bloody Yates's in Wigan. Like, do you know what I mean? It's not, like I'm going to walk in like Jocko Willink to some like mega straight club because that's what an alpha male does. Fuck all of that. If you want to have a fucking enjoyable, varied sex life, you've got to go where those women are.
I think what we should do actually next time we go to Teatron, it's in this area called Chapinero. We will, on that Saturday night, rent an Airbnb very close to Teatron. And what we'll do is we'll get loads of numbers of, hot girls and say we're actually having an after party afterwards, after Teatron shuts, because Teatron shuts about 3. And so then we can experiment with just getting a load of people back, maybe even just take some people directly to the house. We'll hire a big Airbnb and see what sort of shit goes down, because I reckon we could have a really fucking fun time.
We could live stream. We could live stream that, actually, couldn't we?
We actually could, as long as there's nothing like of an real adult nature going on. We can put it onto YouTube even as a clip.
I met up with JT recently, actually, our friend from Russia, our shadowy agent friend from Russia.
Our double agent.
You should. In fact, we should. Let's see if he's still in London, because we could sort something out. But anyway, I met up with him, and he was showing me some Russian. I think he was a YouTuber originally. I don't know where he streams now. I think he got kicked off YouTube. But his streams, this guy will basically just stream himself in his flat having parties with all these hot girls. That's his whole content.
That's great.
Yeah. And JT was saying you guys should do something similar, and I was like, well, I think if you want to do that, Colombia would be a great place to do something like that.
Let's 100% put that on the list for
and this guy, and I mean, there was a little bit more than that, because this guy would basically get tips from the audience, and he would sort of say, right, whatever you want me to do, I'll do. So somebody says, right, go and spank that girl. So he spanked the girl and get I don't know, 100 rubles or tip, whatever. We could talk about whether we do that or not, but the fundamental idea. This guy got huge, and all his content was just, I'm at a party with, look at all these hot girls, and it's on for 6 hours. That's it.
That's a brilliant idea. I love it.
Yeah.
Let's do something like that. Let's set it up.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, let's do that for Teatron. Let's hire a house in Chapinero for maybe even the Friday and the Saturday, because there's a really sick club similar to Teatron next door to it, where everyone raves about, called Ordem, which is a similar anything goes. Apparently it's mental, even more mental, a bit smaller, but even more mental. So we could do that on the Friday, then Teatron on the Saturday, and just try and throw an after party and see what goes down. I think it could be a fascinating experiment, because all life is but an experiment anyway. Yeah,
but I mean, the girls, like that girl that in Bogota, she's pretty up for gay clubs and stuff, isn't she?
Yeah, I mean, she's just one of many very feminine women who are Colombian, and they're just up for just partying, like, just crazy people, really.
That girl I met, obviously I met her in the same place. It's just that it's hard to convey this to the audience if they're skeptical, but there is just this whole like contingent, particularly that in that city, this whole contingent of these really hot girls who are just into that scene, and if you're not tapping into that, then fine, maybe you can get some alpha points on the internet, but you are missing out.
What we're trying to teach guys as we get older and more, just try and live that thing of living authentically and really putting out what we're actually doing. But also, more importantly, trying to give guys as much insight as we can into the ways they can go about really living a fulfilled dating life. And yeah, we could sit here and go, we've never walked in something like theatre and enjoyed it. But the truth is, I have, and you have, and we will again. And if guys are narrow-minded enough not to see kind of between the lines here about what the principles they can take, then it's their own fault. You've got to be adaptable in life, and it's a very easy way if you go to someone like that to A, meet loads of hot women, and B, meet women who are into other girls. So if most guys' ultimate fancy is have group sex, have a threesome with 2 girls, have a foursome with 3 girls. It's a way of going about that, or getting the contacts where you can go about that. I think I went on dates when we went to theatre, and I got 3 numbers. I was with obviously that girl at the time, but I got 3 numbers of various girls. And from that, from texting and going on dates with them, they were all into also other women. So, I mean, it just goes to show if you think about, really targeting what you're after, whatever that may be, you can really get specific with kind of the night game and stuff. And we're not saying, again, you always have to go now to gay clubs. That's not what we're saying, but just be a bit more open-minded to it and be alive to the opportunity that different places kind of present.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I wouldn't just go to gay clubs. I think that would be a terrible idea. And again, you've got to be a bit selective about the clubs that you're going to, because it's not one size fits all. You're not going to some sausage fest in Leeds. That's not gonna be any good. But I mean, actually, another example. I think you may have talked about this, James. Is I went to, like, when they do Pride in Brighton.
Yeah, I've been every year. I did a stag do there. I arranged a stag do for that. Yeah, it was brilliant. It was a pretty. Yeah. You know what? It would have been a fucking letdown of a weekend because it was a last minute organisation by me to go to Brighton. But
and you're like, what should we do? All right, let's go to the biggest.
It was literally like, because I've loved Brighton. I've been there a few times, but it was on a whim that we realised a couple of days before it had been arranged that it was fucking gay pride, and we went down there. We had a fucking bubble. It was almost a bit reminiscent for me of going somewhere like Rio Carnival, where everyone's having a great time, drinking in the street, partying, doing drugs, but super friendly, like having a blast. And it was fucking brilliant. It was one of the best weekends I've ever had. Yeah, I was down there a couple of years ago because I've got some family in I've got some family in Brighton, and I ended up going with 2 of my sisters, so I wasn't as unleashed as perhaps I would normally be. But I mean, let me tell you, bloody hell, that just again, I mean, very, very mixed, loads of girls there, very hedonistic. A great time was being had by all. So yeah, you're looking for quite specific. You're looking for specific events, but just understand that this is happening. This is out there. There are gay clubs, there are gay events where there are loads of girls, and those girls are ready to have some fun, let's say. Yeah. I mean, again, I can't emphasize how fun it is in that club. It's probably one of the best clubs I've ever been to. If you do make it out to Bogota as well for that weekend, we really, really should go to this place called Andreas DC. But not the one in Zone C, this one outside in Chia. It was unreal. I've never been to a place like that. I've never been to a venue that big that's kind of a restaurant but turns into some crazy bar. And it was fucking brilliant. I cannot emphasize how good that was as well. A fantastic place to go out. So we'll go there as well.
Did you get anything on film from that?
Yeah, Egg filmed loads. So that was good. We'll release some footage of that. But it's a great experience to go to. The food was great and the people are fun, and it's just a bit of an anything goes atmosphere. I highly recommend it. We should 100% go.
Yeah, I mean the one in Zone C was good.
That's good, but imagine one that's 10 times better and 10 times bigger and 10 times hotter girls and 10 times more party atmosphere. And you've got it's really hard to explain what it's like unless you go, but it's the best restaurant kind of like normal venue I've ever been to ever. It was just brilliant.
Yes, we went there that time with John MLD, didn't we? And John MLD was kind of off his face, wasn't he? He was in.
Well, he was literally stumbling into garbage, and we're having to lift him up and right him. Bless him. He was in a bad way, but actually, it was good that he got stoned off his tits because he chilled out a bit and realised we're not these kind of like we're not like the majority of the guys in the dating industry where we're trying to undermine you and smash you, take the piss out of. That kind of American, it's me against the world kind of vibe you see a lot in the dating industry. He realised, I think, on that day that we really weren't like that. Yeah. And then he kind of opened up and we really kind of I think we're good friends with him now. Definitely. I think he's a cool guy.
Yeah.
It almost took him being stoned off his tits and falling into garbage for him to kind of realise we weren't there to do anything malicious.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, in closing, I don't know if you've got any final points to make about this, but I think when you get off the internet, when you get out of the weird, creepy sort of echo chamber of the internet, where you've got these sort of, there's some very unpleasant undertones in some corners of this space that we unfortunately kind of share with some other wankers, and there's misogyny, there's homophobia. There's bits of racism I've seen. Fucking horrible stuff that should just be left under the fucking carpet where it belongs. But when you get out into the real world and you deal with real people, when you shut the laptop and just go out, you realize that actually, you're going into places where people are having a blast. You can meet hot girls and you can have an amazing time, and that should be the important thing, in my view.
Yeah, absolutely. And on that note, I'm super excited to get back to Colombia. It's such a safe pair of hands. I mean, I love Brazil, but this time round, I think I've actually preferred being in Colombia.
Yeah.
It's a brilliant fucking place to go out. It's an anything goes place. The girls are very hot, very feminine. Nightlife is 24 hours. It's just cost of living is low. If you want to come and join us, I really recommend getting in touch, joining us for when we're going to be there. I'm not going to be back there after May for the rest of 2022. So this kind of lost opportunity, apart from New Year's, Christmas, New Year's, we'll be in Cali Fair. It's called in Cali, which is this crazy party. But yeah, get in touch for any discussion on Colombia, and then get it for May, and then get in touch for any discussion about joining us in June in Poland. Because again, not to kind of, spell this out for the wrong reasons, but Poland is just a very safe play of hands to go. We're trialing this new kind of jump into our life thing, which is cheaper. You get more hours with us, and it's a lot more fun. And also, there are a lot of Ukrainians there now. People are going to kick off and go, "Oh, how dare you be exploiting Ukrainians?" I've spoken to a number of guys who live in Poland who said, "Look, there are obviously refugees. That's a problem, but that's not what we're really going for." He also said there's a load of women who are, 18, 25, just there to have fun. They don't really give a fuck about the fact there's a war. They've got money. They're just charging around having fun and, going on dates with them. And they're not complaining at all about anything. They just want to girls just want to have fun. So there obviously will be more, more people there as well.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's just it's safe pair of hands, regardless of any situation, really. I mean, I've dated Ukrainian girls actually in Warsaw, like in the last few years, and it's a great time. But I mean, all the Polish girls as well, of course, very beautiful. So it's just a great place. It really is. This guy's saying it looks as though opportune girls are bi. Would it be harder to spot the bi girl in a gay club? Well, not really. If she's making out with, she's got her tongue down some other bird's throat, you're going to know.
Yeah, I mean, most girls that I think you're going to find in Teatron are probably open to experimentation. Whether they're genuinely bi or not is
I think it's sort of it's a slightly odd the way he's put the question in a way, because it's harder to spot the. I mean, you're not going around like, is that a bi girl I see over there? How do I know if she's bi? I mean, what you're doing is you're going around, you're having a good time, you're talking to people, and you might be talking to one girl and then she's with her mate, or you've got another girl with you, and then you sort of bring them together. Maybe they make out. Maybe things develop from there. It's not this kind of are you bi or not? It's more like in the moment what's happening, and can that move forward?
Again, really, utterly, very hard for us to do a good job explaining this stuff, and we haven't really done it justice. I mean, we've obviously got the images of our head of what these places are like, especially the one in Colombia, but unless you actually go, it's very hard to really understand. But I've never taken anyone to Teatron that hasn't demanded we go back to Teatron. A bit like Rio Carnival, I've never taken anyone there who hasn't then demanded, or either gone back with me the following year as a student, or gone back with me as a friend, or just gone back themselves because it's that fucking good. It's one of these standout places. I'm actually, on that note, again, we're getting a bit ahead of ourselves, but I'm looking forward to two of the other biggest and best parties I've never been to, but I've heard spectacular things, which is, of course, Oktoberfest in Brazil. They have the second biggest one in the world in the south part of Brazil, which is very Germanic. So picture the type of look is blonde hair, blue eye girls, tan skin, but very open to not like your stereotypical German, quite closed, quite efficient, no sense of humor, Brazilian vibe. So Oktoberfest, we're going to be there this year. I've been trying to go for 4 years. It's never happened for various reasons, but this year it's going to happen. So get in touch if you want to join us there. We're going to be there for a week in early October. And then the big one, Mexican Halloween, the opening scene of Skyfall, I believe it is. Day of the Dead, Mexican Halloween, 31st of October till the 2nd of November. We're going to be there running a boot camp as well. That's going to be a fucking blast. I'm super excited about that as a place and as a party. And that's 2 in 1 month. So they're going to be fucking fantastic. And to be honest, that's what I'm, you know, on a deep resonation level, that's what I'm most excited about these days. It's not going to a city and doing bog standard day game that I've done for years. It's more, you know, also based around my personality, which is very short attention span and drawn to hedonistic shit. Big fucking crazy parties, either on a micro level, like a night out in Teatron in Bogota, or on a macro level, things like Oktoberfest, things like Feria de Cali, things like Day of the Dead. I mean, that's what really excites me. So, guys, that's really why we're trialing this new thing in Poland, which is kind of jump into our lives, hang around with us for a lot longer and kind of absorb like a sponge everything that we're saying and doing, and also see us not only doing day game, but also night game. So again, get in touch because that offer is going to be available for any of these locations. If you need the schedule, just send myself or Troy an email, Troy@realtroyfrancis or info@jamestuss.com.
Indeed. Is London utterly useless for day game now?
Yeah, get your ass out of there. Your options are Colombia or Poland for the next couple of months. Look, London's a cool place. We're both from London. We're Londonites. We both got British passports we haven't rescinded. But would I spend my time dating here if I have the choice to not? No. My family and friends are here, and obviously I enjoy coming back to London. It's a great city. It's one of the greatest in the world. But for dating, I'm more drawn to places that are just foreign because I love traveling and I love meeting people who are completely different to me, because you learn a lot about life, a lot about how other people live. And on a biological evolutionary level, I just think you find girls in other countries a lot more attractive because, you know, because it's so different. There's so much to learn, but also the look is very different. So look, if you can't get out of London, don't worry about it. It's a great city to date. But on a personal level, for me, I prefer other places. It's really that simple.
Yeah, no, completely. I mean, I would say it's not completely useless. No, there are opportunities. You can, of course, people are still meeting, people are still getting together, of course. But it's, yeah. I mean, I just echo what James has said. It's not the optimum place on the planet for dating. But if you're here and you have to be here for a period of time, there are opportunities for sure.
But I also don't buy in this post-COVID world, where we, especially I'm not speaking about, very poor parts of the world, but people that are going to watch this sort of stream. You're probably relatively middle class. You've probably got some money in the bank. And if you're earning in pounds or dollars or euros or Aussie dollars or Canadian dollars, you can travel to places that we talk about a lot, like Poland, like Serbia, like Colombia, like Brazil, like Argentina, and you can live like an absolute boss. You can actually save money by traveling to these places and living there for periods of time, working remotely. The opportunities for women are going to be far higher. You're going to have a far better time because you're going to be in a new place with new sensations. You're going to meet cool people on the road. I mean, it's just, and it's good as a guy to test yourself and travel and push that comfort zone. So I just think it's a no fucking brainer to listen to myself and Troy, who between us and people like Les, who we work with, have traveled extensively, and listen to what we're saying. And I don't give a fuck whether you ever work with me on a personal level, but you should listen to what we're saying because this is the lifestyle we're living. And there's a reason we're living it. It's not just for a joke. It's because it's fucking fun. And, it's just, we live in a brilliant time where you can do this stuff. I mean, you can be anywhere in the world within 24 hours. So to sit, complaining about life in the UK, again, it's just like fucking get on a fucking plane. Not forever, even for a weekend, even for a week. Just try something different. And again, you need advice with that, get in touch with us and we can help you out.
Is that the real MLD just coming in at the end?
For the troops.
For the
mate,
troops.
MLD, no excuse, mate. I'll see you back there with your hexagon hat on. Charging around with us in Bogota, end of May. See if you got the mate. That's one thing we missed out on, not taking you to Teatron. You would have had time. In fact, you'd have moved to Bogota. You'd forgotten all this Japanese geisha nonsense in your onsen. You'd have picked up your stuff and thought, right, fuck this. I'm moving with the troops to Bogota.
Well, I was talking to you, wasn't I, offline the other day, and I literally have been considering retiring. Well, I'm a bit young to retire, maybe, but retiring to Colombia, it's that good.
Well, I'd say test the water with maybe Cali for a few weeks just to see what you think. Because you might, in my opinion, the two places to consider living, if I was going to live in Colombia, would not be the obvious ones that people know from the bachelor party and sex tourist circuit of Medellin and Cartagena. It would be Cali or Bogota. And again, the reason for that is you're in the minority of foreigners, which puts your value way up. So, and they're just cool places, and I know them quite well, and they're very easy places to live. And I think that, you know, the only barrier really, if you wanted to live there long term, would be you should learn Spanish. But I think if you're going to buy a place, not just you, Troy, anyone, if you're going to buy a place in a country and spend half the time there, it's a no-brainer to learn the language because it opens up many more opportunities. But luckily, Spanish, of course, is a level 1 language in terms of difficulty. It's the easiest, I think, foreign language along with French to actually learn if needed to be learned. So, yeah, I think that's the only thing guys have got to consider if you go to South America is just be prepared to learn Spanish. It's going to make you don't have to do it, but it'll make your experience that much better in the long term.
Indeed. And on that note, we'll call it to a close. Guys, get on my email list if you're not already. I send out content most days, and it's absolutely free email newsletter. So jump onto that. I am launching Michael's CAD Academy. That is coming out on the 26th of May. So I'm going to be dropping more details about that on my channel. So
when are we going to release this? When are we going to release the Edge? I feel we need to get this out and get rid of it. It's been sitting
Let's talk about that offline, but we'll release that. I would say, why don't we go for like summer? Why don't we go for like when we're around the Poland time? Because then we've got some opportunities to we can obviously promote it, and we can do some shows about it and stuff.
Yeah, let's do that when we're together in Poland in one of these places. Let's just spring it out of, you know, a 7-day countdown and do it and release it as a one-off sale. Literally a one-off sale, no more. But it's a very cool product that we spent time designing, which is around the idea of dark triad and anti-hero, and why that is especially attractive to the opposite sex. So if you think of characters from movies like, I guess, Batman, Christian Bale playing Batman, when you've got this 70% good, 30% bad, you've got that shadow side that, you know, Robert Greene and Jordan Peterson talk about, which are some other, I guess, the guy from Peaky Blinders, Tom Hardy in a lot of the roles he plays. Those are the obvious ones that stand out. Were there any other ones that kind of encompass that kind of anti-hero?
Well, you got the Wolf of Wall Street and all that kind of thing. I mean, the anti-hero is such a persistent theme, isn't it? I mean, Heathcliff in Wuthering Heights. It's just so.
It's because it's relatable. It's because no one really look. There are the odd guys who are those genuine heroes, right? That are riding first into battle and everything is completely loyal and moral. But I think human beings are broken individuals, not in a nihilistic way, but in a realistic way of, you know, a lot of us are 70-80% good, but we have that 20% shadow side that Jung talks about. And that the reason the anti-hero is relatable is because it is actually a reflection of what human beings tend to be like. We all have that dark element in us, and it's not about crushing it down and being saccharine sweet and pretending it doesn't exist. It's about encompassing that. And, you know, there's a great book, isn't there, by that NBA coach who coached some of the big name players, Tim S. Grover.
Yeah.
Relentless and winning. And he talks about that, unleashing the shadow side.
Definitely.
So it's not about turning into this again, 2D. We've got the 2D alpha, don't we? And we often have this 2D arsehole of the nice guy who hasn't pulled a muscle, thinks, right, I'm just going to go up and start punching my mates in the face and swearing at everyone and being this fucking gangster. That's not what we're talking about with the anti-hero. We're talking about genuinely being good, but accepting that we all have these dark urges, tendencies, and how can we build that in a healthy way to maximize not only dating opportunities, but maximize our life as men towards that path of self-actualization. That's what this course is really about. And it was a cool product to shoot with you over a few days. So, you know, even if it is just a one-off release and we put the price tag a bit lower, fuck it, let's do it. I think it's some useful information in there.
No, we definitely need to get it out there, and we will. So that will come out, as I say, probably maybe a bit later in the summer. Are you going to Donovan's convention? Yes. So I'm going to be in Miami. I forget the dates, but I'll put them in the video below. But I'm going to be in Miami for a few days. And then after that, maybe that will be a little bit nearer to come over to where Mr. Tusk is. So
potentially Fresh and Fit again for the troops.
Potentially, yes, absolutely. Talking to Fresh and Fit. So look out for that. I'll be dropping some info on my channel as and when we get it.
And maybe Sterling Coper as well.
Maybe. Yeah.
He was actually, if he may never see this, but when I watched his dominance product, it's good. It's about how to kind of, and the concept is reverse engineer you being very dominant, and you know the second you say hello to it, all the way through, so you getting physical with it, you should have this theme of dominance in there, which women really respond to. But it was interesting because on his product, he's very serious, and there's literally a video behind of him, like, you know, doing all sorts of stuff of a sexual nature, but kind of just being very serious faced and commenting on it. And I was just like, this is fucking hilarious because he's so serious. But then actually, when I got him on a stream, and that obviously came about because you're good mates with him, and we kind of realized that you were the mutual party there. And I was just like, look, I'll promote your product. It's really good. He came on the stream. He had a lot of banter. And I was actually surprised that he's quite it's typical Australian bit of banter, quite confident, like that sort of vibe.
Yeah, he's a funny guy, very intelligent dude as well. Surprising, given he's a porn star. It's kind of, I'm not.
Well,
sure.
that was the point he made. He was like, you know what, guys always think we're fucking stupid, but on an emotionally intelligent level, we're actually really switched on, because porn, you could argue, is one of the hardest industries to get into, because obviously every guy's fancy is, I'm just going to bang loads of chicks on camera and get paid. So his point was, we may not be particularly book smart, but we're very socially and emotionally intelligently smart to get ourselves into the position where basically we're banging and getting paid to do so, and we work that angle, right?
But he's book smart as well, because he's got a degree. He might even have a postgrad degree in some science. I forget which one it is.
I think he said chemistry. I think he said chemistry.
Yeah, he's a super smart guy. But he's yeah, and
interesting, a bit like, you know, it's interesting talking to him because like everyone says, and I think the point you made is, you know, now he says he just prefers to teach it because you do get to that stage where sex is too easy, and the point he made is, being in that industry, it's so easy to get laid the entire time that he actually missed the chase. So again, it's that grass is greener thing of, now he's kind of sacked it off and he's like, no, I actually prefer just fucking chasing girls around. You know, I've kind of gone through that. So there's always grass is greener with anything you do, isn't there?
Exactly. Dimitri says, what's your guy's favorite clothing company? My favorite clothing company is my own line. I've got my own store. Link below. You can get your own degenerate Troy Francis t-shirts. So go and check that out. We got t-shirts, we got hoodies, we got iPhone cases.
I thought that was a joke, that whole thing.
No, how dare you? How dare you?
You've got For the Troops on there, world's oldest profession.
Well, I'll take that one down. I did that one too.
World's oldest, that's a great one.
We've got a limited edition. We've got a limited edition world's oldest profession T-shirt as well. So if you want to get your hands on that, because I might have to take it down because James has copyrighted the phrase. But
how did you get onto the idea of selling merchandise?
It's a pretty standard thing to do. I mean, like Ryan Stone's got a merch line now. It's just a kind of a standard content creator thing to do. It's very easy to set up. So
there you go. That's one you need. I need to do one with white t-shirts because I'm synonymous with wearing white t-shirts.
Yeah, well, I should take down the world's oldest profession, and you should do that because it's your phrase. But I'm doing this. I've got ones with degenerate written on it, and I'm quite keen to sort of push that range and you know, maybe look at some different designs and things like that, because I think it works quite well.
Well, I might re-release what I did as a joke was on a bootcamp a few years ago, was actually get Tuss-themed condoms. And again, people thought that was quite funny, so maybe I should do that as well.
Yeah, exactly. Good stuff. All right, guys. Well, thanks ever so much for tuning in. Hope you got some value, and we'll see you again very soon.